Yo, Gary Antuanne Russell stopped Viktor Postol, and he won in a pretty dominant fashion. I want to talk about that in this video. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego in the back with some more boxing. Make sure you come in, smash the like button. You know how it goes. Now, Gary Antuanne Russell, he had a step-up performance, and that was against Viktor Postol, veteran, been in there with Terrence Crawford, veteran, been in there with Jose Ramirez, former champion, and also Josh Taylor, who I thought lost yesterday to Jack Catterall. So he fought these various people, and different people have different things to say about the performance. I want to give you my thoughts. I thought he looked good, man. Like, in boxing, there's a lot of people, they want to do this comment. You know I made boxing popular to talk boxing in the digital stratosphere, things like that. And the thing that's lacking in the game, in my view, is there's a lot of people who talk, and it's like they talk to be talking, but it's like, where's your real knowledge base and where's your respect for the game? Like, I see people saying Gary Antuanne Russell need to work on this and he need to work on that. I mean, to a degree, that's any fighter. No, unless you're like years in, like a Floyd Mayweather or something, you're young. If you're sub 30 years old, you probably have things you can improve because you're still learning and stuff like that. So to me, that's not really saying much. I thought Gary Antuanne Russell, what surprised me is his style. He has a lot of straight punches. I didn't see as many hooks. Maybe it was just in this particular fight, but I thought he looked overall good. And Viktor Postol, if you know his pedigree, Viktor Postol kind of makes everybody look off, except for, with the exception of probably Terrence Crawford. I don't think Terrence Crawford looked bad. I was at that fight years ago, but he made Lucas Matisse quit and look bad. He can box, you know. I thought Jose Ramirez, you could really make a strong case that fight was a draw, maybe even Postol won. So a young Olympian in Gary Antuanne Russell, he went out there and dispatched of him. And the stoppage, some people were saying it was premature, but again, I can't speak for anybody else. I'm just giving you my commentary. My thing is this: I don't overly stress stoppages like that, because even if you think it was a moment too soon or whatever the case is, the fact is Viktor Postol was pretty much being dominated and he was clearly losing the fight. Yes, it was the 12th round, but at the end of the day, it's not that outraging. He got hurt, he got clipped up with a shot, and he decided to run like he does and retreat. One, that doesn't look good for the judges, but more importantly, you weren't going to win the fight anyway. Like, there was no way you could win the fight without knocking out Gary Antuanne Russell. No way at all. You would need to knock him out in order to have won. And I don't know what Freddie Roach was saying in the corner, but that should have been the message. So although it's discouraging, and I seen some people were talking about the conflict in Russia with Ukraine and stuff like that, but that didn't have nothing to do with the actual fight. The fight is, you have to protect yourself at all times. And really, realistically speaking, whether he could have survived the last remaining seconds in the round or not, he wasn't really protecting himself. And he was retreating and he was fleeing. And at that point, it becomes subjective to the ref's discretion. So you're really if you better throw something back, you better counter, you try to hook off the ropes or something, or push him off, or low blow, you know, to get some space, or take a knee. You got to do something. So I really fault some of these stoppages like that, not on the fighter, not on Gary Antuanne Russell, but really the opponent who's hurt and doesn't know how to survive. Because Floyd Mayweather, you see when he fought Sugar Shane Mosley, he got rocked, just rocked. And he didn't just sit there and freeze up. Floyd being astute, Floyd being a student of the game, Floyd having these moments probably in sparring and been there, done that, he knew exactly how to react. So I really think it's because you have Gary Antuanne Russell, who is an African-American fighter. He's a black fighter, so people tend to embellish and make these things a big deal. Postol was not winning that fight unless he got a knockout, point blank, period. So to me, I'm not even going to cry over some stoppers like that. To me, what's more appalling is guys like Jack Catterall losing to Josh Taylor knowing he didn't lose the fight. And it was a hometown cooking in Josh Taylor's backyard, where you had Josh Taylor who he threw like 6 punches in the last 6 minutes. He landed like very few punches in a certain round, like round 11, I think it was. And 3 the judges gave it to him. How he win the round and he not even active. So me, I'm not even mad at the Gary Antuanne Russell stoppage like some people. I think that's fake outrage and selective outrage that you tend to see with black fighters when they're fighting non-black fighters, and then the outcome is maybe not what old media wants it to be. As far as the performance, I don't have anything highly critical of Gary Antuanne Russell. Again, when there's black fighters, you often hear old media say they need to work on their defense and they need to do this and do that. But then you have other fighters who are non-black fighters and they have zero defense and they're getting hit like crazy. And those same critics don't have nothing to say. Like, for example, you have Josh Taylor. We'll use him again since I already talked about it. Josh Taylor's a non-black fighter fighting at home. The bigger guy, he was so outraged in the weigh-in because he got choked and he pushed and he was like saying, I'm going to destroy him. And won't. He's the undisputed guy at the 140-pound weight class. And he was fighting really dirty, for one. And then 2, he was getting hit so many unnecessary times by a guy that didn't even look really dynamic in Jack Catterall. Versus Viktor Postol was the guy who had been at the mountain's peak more so than Gary Antuanne Russell. And this was supposed to be a step up for Gary Antuanne Russell. So the point being is it's funny to see that African-American fighters such as Gary Antuanne Russell, there's all this criticism of how they need to improve. And then you see that selective outrage for that. But then guys like Josh Taylor, he was getting hit nonstop with left hands. He couldn't get away from the southpaw left hand of Jack Catterall, who wasn't a Viktor Postol type of person. You know, if anything, his Jack Catterall step up was Josh Taylor, not the other way around. And that's not the same that could be said for Gary Antuanne Russell. So I thought he looked sharp, and, you know, he's been stopping guys in 6 rounds. It's good that he wins some rounds. And I also like what Mr. Gary Antuanne Russell had to say post-fight. He spoke like a true savant and professional of the sport. And he said, my dad, how would you feel if you went through what my dad's going through? But we come from the bloodline of royalty, and, you know, his Viktor Postol, his people are at war right now. So I wish him the best. And I just went out there and did what I had to do. So I like everything I'm seeing. I like the progression of this kid. And my thing is this, let's just keep, if we have all this criticism, let's keep the criticism all the way consistent. And that's what's one thing that's lacking in the game. Old media has all this criticism for certain fighters, hint, hint, but there's absolutely no criticism for far worse things like Jack Catterall losing to Josh Taylor. So I like the performance from Gary Antuanne Russell. Whether you agree with the stoppage or not, let me know in the comment section. I didn't really care because, like I said, there was not that much time, but Viktor Postol wasn't acting right. He wasn't responding right. He wasn't throwing counters. He literally started running just like he did with Terrence Bud Crawford. So you had that stoppage. You know, it's up to you to know, like I said earlier in this video, to know how to survive in those moments, i.e. Floyd Mayweather, i.e. Juan Manuel Marquez. Remember the first Marquez-Pacquiao fight? He got dropped 3 times in the first round. Marquez, being a cerebral fighter and a counterpuncher, he knew how to badly be hurt and still go on to give Pacquiao many issue in that first fight and all the fights that they had, ultimately knocking Pacquiao out. I want to accept my promoter, Bob Adam, knocking him out in the 4th fight, right? So all in all, that's my real thoughts on the Gary Antuanne Russell. I also dig the Gary Russell commentary and corner advice. He was like, man, get off with the right hand. That's your money punch, boom, boom, boom. And then that's when he really, I think it was the 11th round, you know, after 11th round ended, entering the 12th round, Gary Russell, knowing boxing, he told his brother what to do. And his brother actually enlisted the advice that he was getting and actually put it into fruition and executed. And then that's when he had Postol, probably the worst that he had been hurt throughout the whole fight. So I like the team. I like the family. Good job to Gary Antuanne Russell. Let me know what you guys think. So he's just, he continued another stoppage, an Olympian, beat guys like Jerron Boots Ennis in the amateurs. I'm definitely checking for him. He also fought a guy that Broner seemingly had issues with in Santiago, and he stopped him, and his highlights was looking dope. So I don't really have the same type of criticism that I'm seeing from old media saying that he needed to do this and he was getting hit too much. Like, why don't y'all say that to other fighters who's losing and getting busted up? Like Josh Taylor's face is all messed up, and he on a pound for pound list. This kid is like 25 years old, doing his thing, making his way, and it's all this criticism for it. I don't see it. Drop your thoughts in the comment section, subscribe, and I'm out. The future is now. The Hibernation 5s by Kenichi Bear. Hybrid gaming and lifestyle headphones. Out of the box, you can connect to any console or PC. Bluetooth ready with a low latency USB adapter, color RGB, and extreme bass mode. The Hibernation 5s adjust to you. Whether you need a gaming, travel, gym, or lifestyle headphones, the Hibernations got you covered. The new Hibernation 5s, link in the description. Customize the way you hear the world. Welcome to the nation. Are you tired of your YouTube videos not getting any views? Well, consider TubeBuddy. I've used TubeBuddy for years to scale up my YouTube channel. Now we're sitting over 200,000 subscribers. TubeBuddy is a browser extension that offers a ton of built-in productivity and time-saving services to take your channel to the next level. Use my link in the description to get started with TubeBuddy and level up your channel faster.